Alrighty, so we're going to move on to the epidermis. Okay, so we're breaking up the layers of the skin. So we're going to do that top section, which is what we deal with, what we can generally feel on the top. Okay, so there's a couple of key terms: corneocytes, keratinocytes or keratinocytes, okay, melanocytes. Anything with CYTE at the end, site is the technical name for cell. Okay, so it's some type of cell. So going back to what we just learned in our previous videos, cells, okay, are where we start. You need a mother cell, creates a daughter cell, and then it keeps dividing. Okay, so starting on our stratum basale. Stratum means layers, okay, and it's at the front of every single one. Okay, so the first one, we're going to start here with our basale. Now, because this is at the bottom, it divides, okay? So it's like a little mechanism that's constantly growing and dividing. It is a duplicate of each other cell, okay? So we have a stratum, meaning layers, okay? So stratum basale, B-A-S-A-L-E, like a base, okay? Yeah, and stratum means layers. Alrighty. So with this cell, it's connected to a blood network. Okay, so it has veins and capillaries that are connected to it, which is what allows it to then constantly divide and grow. Like anything, we need oxygen and nutrients. Okay, so the healthier your diet, okay, the healthier the blood work that goes into your skin and your cell turnover. All right. So these are the ones, they have a little nucleus like every other cell. Okay, but this one's really important because it has our DNA, it has our genetics, okay, and it's going to continuously divide. Now, the next little one, these cells are going to go through a thing called cell differentiation, which means they're going to change their shape and basically they're going to start to take on different roles as they make their way up to the top of the surface of the skin. So your stratum basale is the first one at the very bottom. Okay, then we're going to go to our stratum spinosum. Okay, so it's like a spiky layer. Okay, so it starts to change shape. Now, if you remember what we talked about with our cell membrane at the start, it had an oil and water component. Okay, it's still intact in the stratum lucidum. Stratum spinosum. But what it's doing is those cells are starting to change in shape. So they're becoming quite spiky and long and elongated. Okay, so some of those structures inside are starting to become a bit squashed. Okay, so this is our spinosum, spinosum, depending on how you want to say it, and it's like spiky. All right. So from here, the next one that we're going to do is it's going to push its way up, and it's now going to become like coffee granules. So it's starting to really break down. This nice cell membrane that we had at the bottom is starting to really squash itself. Okay. So now we're going to our coffee granules. Okay. So there are lots of little small ones. Okay, and all of this oil and water out of the cell membrane is starting to leak out by this point. Okay, so all of this is starting to come out. So this oil and water is starting to be released from the cells. Okay, so it's changing again. It's really squishing those cells down and starting to push out everything that's inside it. Okay, and there's a key point to this in a minute. The next one that we have, which is only on our hands and our soles of our feet, okay, is our stratum lucidum. So it's the reason that you have a clear layer on your hands. It's the reason why you can generally stand on sharper stones and it doesn't hurt as much, but it's there for a protection mechanism. Okay, so your stratum lucidum is layers and layers of a clear cell. Okay, so this is your granulosum, is in here. So granular, granulosum, and this one is your lucidum. And again, they all have the stratum in front of them because it means layers. Okay. And then our last one, so when it's really starting to become what we can see and touch and feel on the top of our skin, it now becomes a corneocyte. Okay, so it's now essentially dead. Okay, all the life's been taken out, all the water and the oil and all the good stuff's been squished, and that's what we have, dead skin on the top. Okay, so this is now our keratinocyte. It's changed, it's gone hard, it's now dead protein. Okay, which is why you can scrub it and exfoliate it and it doesn't hurt. So this one is like a brick formation. Okay, so there's like, say, two and then one on the top. So I want you to think about building a house. Okay, and layers upon layers upon layers. Now they're held together by a little thing called our cells glue or a mortar. Okay, so I want you to think like when you're building a house. Okay, you're putting in a little bit of the mortar in the middle. Okay, and that's going to hold your dead skin cells. Now, someone with a thickened layer of dead skin will have a lot more. Someone that's got very fine, delicate skin will have a quite thin layer, right? So it becomes important when we're looking at the different skin types or the skin conditions as well. Now, back to this oil and water. The oil and water is really important because it then starts to become our skin's barrier. So it starts to make that little layer, that hydrolipidic film on the top of the skin as your protection mechanism. So this little oil and water comes up and it creates a nice little barrier. Okay, so I'm going to write up here your skin's barrier. Okay. Now, what happens with our skin's barrier is it can become impaired. So, people that use really strong products, people that over exfoliate, that use the wrong products, that use a retin A, so a vitamin A in the morning, and don't wear an SPF, people that don't apply moisturizer even though they've got oily skin. You've got to think your skin is such a smart and intelligent organism. It knows what your body needs. But if we don't put the right protection layer, or if we're stripping things from it, it's then going to start producing more oil thinking that we need it. Okay, so it's really important that when we're doing a skin analysis and we're talking to our clients, we're figuring out what it is they're using, not so much the product names, but what's in it. What is it doing to your client's skin, and why is that making a difference to whether their skin is achieving the results or not? Okay, so this is the epidermis, and we're going to move on in a minute. So I'll see you soon.